All right, I'm going to try to get a little bit more work in on my Nuxt Ionic. What else is it? Nuxt Ionic, PocketBase, and I'm going to introduce VueQuery in this one. So if you're just joining and didn't watch the first one, I will quickly, let me go through some notes here. Where is everything? I will quickly, I'm just making sure my stream is up and running. Okay, I will quickly just kind of show what we have so far. So I have my Nuxt app. Get this thing started, npm run dev. And I am running, well, first let's see if it's working. Okay, and so then it appears somewhere I am running a instance of PocketBase, so, but I really want it running here. So let me do this. Oh, is it up? Yep, so I have my PocketBase running right here. And the basic application, Logout, I can log in. Just to show you the code, what I've done, just a quick overview. What I've done here is I have PocketBase running. I've put PocketBase into a plugin, instantiate everything. It kind of saves a cookie, and that's how it's managing the authentication state. I have my home page, which after you've logged in and you've logged in effectively, I am getting, since I have this plugin, my plugin is called $PB. I can get the auth store, get the model of my authenticated user, and I'm rendering that authenticated user here. And so that's what you see at the top. What we want to do in this one is, we want to add the ability to create a user, but more interesting, we want to start to move our PocketBase code into Composables. So what that means is that I want to get anything that's related to my database. So like here on my logout, like I want to pull this logout code out and put it into a Composable. But it's probably best to start with the login. Let me get back to my keyboard. So I'm trying to be keyboard jockey. So let me start. If I start with my login page, hold on, I'm just seeing some errors, but nothing good. All right. When I get to my login page here, like all of this Nuxt stuff around PocketBase, I want to move out to a Composable. So if we, and I want to try to follow directions. So if we go here, we'll look at Composable, Composables directory. So we go here, type fail, that's not good. Why is my documentation not working? All right, let's try again. So actually, let's just see if I can go to the examples and just look at some example code, and we'll base our Composable off of that. So this is not what I wanted. Composables. Let's go to docs, guide, Composables folder. This is what I wanted. Kind of laying out what a composable, well, this is Nuxt config, component names, dynamic. All right, this is, oh, I'm in components, not composables, my bad. Composables. Okay, example, and this is plugin scanned. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to create a Composables folder. And let's get it back up on the top level. And we will create a Composables called usePBLogin. And that will be our composable. And then what we'll do is we're going to move all the login code that we have into this composable, so then we'll have access to it from everywhere. Let's see, did anybody join? Okay. So just to get us started, not the plugin, I have kind of like the template for a composable once I get there. Okay. So this is, oh, we're not, sorry, my bad. That's a plugin, that's not a composable. All right, this is a composable. So what we are doing is, and we're going to set this up so that it will return the appropriate information, but we have all of our, we have all of our why do I keep saying PowerBase? PocketBase stuff outside of our application. So that's really what we're shooting for here. Hold on, hold on a minute. Okay, so as you can see, we need our Nuxt app. So we're doing our use Nuxt app, and then we're getting our client, and then based off of our client, we're going to make the API call. Now, we need to be able to pass in, I really want to be able to go off of documentation. So let's see if I can find, here's my guide, there's compose. Composable directory, composable format, use async data. I mean, I've written this, but I really would like to stick with the document. Composables. And that view, composables, and so we know we need two parameters. We need our email, we need our password. And since we're using TypeScript, I have to define these. Email is a string, password is a string. And so we have the structure that we need for the composables. Hold on. Okay, so the next thing is that now that we have kind of the basic framework for composable set up, we need to make sure that it's going to work as we expected. And so what we want to do is, if we go back to our home, and the idea is that we're going to remove all of this code, and we are going to call our composable usePBLogin, and then we're going to pass in our email value. Am I in the right? Yes. Email value, and then our password. And then we will get our response returned back to us, but I didn't set that up properly, so let's go up here. So return. We go back to our login code, and we can look here and see that it's going to return a promise, and the promise is going to give us a record if the person successfully logged in. So that one was pretty straightforward, but you see the idea is that now I just have, I mean, in this case, it's not that important because I'm only going to use it for login, but I'm just trying to create a structure of these reusable composables. So we have the login one I can call now to login, and we'll follow the same pattern for the logout. So I'm just going to copy this, V, and we'll rename this usePBLogout. And that one is a little bit easier, Logout, because it doesn't require any parameters. And actually for this one, all you need to do is you get the all store, and then you clear. And that's pretty much all you have to do to log out. And now we should be able to replace, if I go back to my logout, I mean to my home where I'm logging out, I can replace this code here for usePBLogout. And if I go back to my application, my login, log out, and then log in again, and then I'm back logged in. All right, so that's something simple, but let's move to something a little bit more complex. And also for those just joining, you can see I've integrated the Ionic framework in this also. So let's do a create account page. So let's go over here, and we will base it off our login page. Since we're going to try and use the same forms, so we're going to rename this create account. And so we can see this, we'll set it up here. And so let's start here, create account, and create account page. So now we have our create account page, but we want a couple other things. We want the email, we want the password, but we also want a full name. We'll just add that at the top to keep it simple. And change the model to full name, type to text, and just set all these full name, enter. And let's go down here into our code. Also, let's change this alias to create account, create const. Set a ref to kind of hold that value. We'll keep our do alert there. And we want to do create account. All right, and change this to do create let's give me some more room here. And now why isn't my screen rendering? Let's see, let's do a hard refresh. All right, here's my doCreateAccount. But on doCreateAccount, we need to also be able to go back. So save, cancel. For cancel, we're just going to get our router back. And for save, we'll do our create account. Let's take advantage of some Ionic just to show what you get with the Ionic utility. So I'm going to create a row. And then we're going to put these two buttons in a row. But then I want them to be in their own separate columns, so space them evenly. So what I can do here is I can just say ion call, and then put each one in their own column. Line column. So we have our buttons nicely spaced on the page by using some of the Ionic components. Ionic styling utilities. All right. So what else? Oh, I need to go to my login page, and I need to pretty much do the exact same thing, because now on my login page I need to be able to get to my create account page. So we have our login button here. We just follow exact same approach. Login, create account, and then for create account we'll just do router push and create account. Okay, and so now let's go back. Where did I leave that in the tags? What page? Oh. And let's log out. Let's create account, cancel. Okay, let's fix these buttons here. Let's do ion row. This is a column. Oh. And put this back to a row. All right, did I miss a column? Oh, it switched these to rows. So row, column, need my row. All right, so we have our login, then we have our create account button, create account, cancel, and then login. So we've created the basic use. So now let's go to create account. Let's look at my create account file, and we will see that we need to create a new composable. So we'll say use create account. Use PB create account, and we know email password, and we'll pass full name dot value. And let's now create that. We'll base it off of login since it's similar. Rename usePBCreateAccount. And then email password, full name, and let's add that here. That's not right. And then collection, let's look at the docs. I don't know what the name of that is directly off the top of my head. So if we come into our user table, we click API preview, and it kind of explains how to do everything. We want to create a user. We're going to take all this because we want to do everything that's here. So let's go here. Let's paste that code in and kind of step through what's happening. So let's get our, need our use Nuxt app. Let's set this whole thing to async. So we have our await there. We need the same thing again to use Nuxt app. So what will happen? Well, let's do this. If I leave this blank, it will generate a unique username. PocketBase will do that for me. We want to take the email that was passed in. Set email visibility true. We want to take the password that was passed in. And then the password confirm, we will just give it the same password that we already got. And then name will be full name. So that's providing all the data that it needs to create the account. And then this call will actually create the account. And then what we want to do is we do have email verification. So if I get a record, if record, then fire off the if I get a record, then fire off the request to generate a new account. But let's make sure we pass the right email in here, and then that should get the email for us. Okay, but what we also want to do is we also want to confirm that the email was sent. So I'm just going to create another variable here. I'm going to say let email sent equals false, and then we'll return email sent, and we'll return the record that we got, but we'll return that as data record. So that should return the, if my user was created successfully, the user model will be inside of record. If I have a record, then send the request verification. Basically what this means is that the user will not be able to log in. They won't be verified until they respond to the email. So let's go back to my create account. And that all looks right. Response, if response Okay. If response, then navigate to home. So I know I will get a response. So I want to say if response dot email sent, then navigate to home. But also we want to if email sent. So what we want to do is if email sent, if email not sent, that means there was an error sending the email, then we want to throw an error. And this is response dot email. And then we can just say throw error email verification email not sent. Okay. So where are we now? Checking. All right. So now we have the code to create the account. Let's see if we can create an account. So let's come in here. I need to use a real email address, of course. So I'll say Aaron +2. This is my email, so we'll copy down here. We'll put that in the email, and we'll go up here and we'll just say the full name is Aaron +2, and then let's just make sure my password is password, and then save. So verification email, if response to email was not sent. Okay, why didn't it send my verification email? Also, let me check my own email to confirm that the verification email wasn't sent. I don't want to pull my mail inbox screen in front of everybody who watches this video, so I'm looking. All right, so the mail was not sent. Let's take a look at create account. Oh, that's interesting. So the mail just came through. I have to look and see why I gave the error, but this is the email that you'll get. And if I click verify, my email is now verified. So now if I close, I cancel this and go back to login. And if I log in with Aaron +2 at clearlyinnovative.com, password is password. Let's make sure. Now I've logged in and there's my user. Now I got my email like I expected to, but for some reason it threw an error and indicated that it wasn't sent. So let me see, did I do something wrong inside of PBCreateAccounts? If record, do this. Return email sent is false. Oh, I didn't set email sent to true down here. So we want to say email sent equals true to indicate that the email was successfully sent. Let's go back to my create account page, and on create account, yeah, it didn't navigate to home because it threw an error saying the email wasn't sent. But now we're good. And just so you can see all the information came back, let's just dump it on this page for now. It won't be pretty. Create account. And underneath, this is not create account. I need to be home. And on home, just underneath here, just so we can see everything, we can say user. And you can see all the information that was sent from the user. Actually, let's clean it up a bit. All right, so you can see we got all the user information that was needed. The verify flag is set to true, and so everything for the user is visible. And thanks for joining. This is just I'm just walking through using Ionic framework, Nuxt, and PocketBase. I've been creating some composables. So I have a composable for logout, composable for login, a composable for creating account. And what I want to do is add some, right now at this point, I'm going to add VueQuery to it. Hold on. Okay, so we have our composables working. Let's clear up some of these errors. But what I want to do is I want to kind of clean them up a bit and so I want to have the benefit of knowing when they're loading, error handling better, just all the goodness of some reactive response and a standard way for all of these composables to work. So what I'm going to do, by the way, I tried to do this with async data and it started getting a little weird for me because I'm not a Nuxt expert. So I figured that I know that it works with VueQuery because I've used VueQuery before. So I figured let me just wrap my composables with VueQuery. And it worked out okay. So I'm just going to show you a couple examples of how I did that and some of the benefits of it. And you can determine if you think it's a good idea for something you might want to do in one of your solutions. So for those who've never heard of it, VueQuery is a package. It provides hooks for fetching, caching, and updating data in Vue asynchronously. So also this is based on a React query library, which is pretty popular and I've used also before. So let's see if I can just find a quick, let's see, installation, dev tools. So I can install npm install to install it. And then we're going to need to create a plugin. See, because you need to add the plugin, so we're going to have to create a Nuxt plugin to load this up. So we go over here, we create a plugins directory. Oh, it already exists. Escape that. Where pages, plugins, because I have my PocketBase plugin. And so we're going to do it. This is going to be pretty straightforward. We go into plugins, new plugin, and what am I calling this? VueQuery. And then based off of that, let's see if I have better luck finding an example of a plugin. Let's see, PLUGINS. Plugins. And look here on the side, plugins. Let's see, is this going to be a decent example or a bad one? This is the basic structure of a plugin, so we'll copy that and put it in here, except we need the Nuxt app. And we don't need to return anything. All we really need to do is just this. And so we're going to hop in here and grab all this. Move this to the outside. And then take our Nuxt app. . Nuxt app use, wait a minute. Where's my notes that I took on this? Not the Nuxt app, it's the Vue app. All right, come on. Vue app. There you go. So this should be it to get our plugin rolling. So now we have access to VueQuery in our application, and let's see if we can find a simple example to kind of get us started. So here's what we're gonna do. We're going to see, this is the stuff I want. I want on my query to kind of get the status information for me in a reactive manner, and wrapping it in VueQuery will do it for me. Like I said, I looked into trying to do it using the functionality that I get out of the box with Nuxt, but I wasn't able to figure out exactly how to do it. So we'll start with the easy one, which would be the login. So if I go to my Composables, my login, and I look at what it is doing. So if we look at this example, this is basically what I want to do. I want to return. Well, actually, let's not do. This is a mutation. So let me do a mutation example. Mutation. Okay. So what we're trying to replicate what they're doing here. This use add mutation to do mutation, and what you're doing is you make the use mutation call. You pass it parameters, and then you have basically the API call or whatever that you're going to make around it. So if we duplicate that approach, what we want to have is, so we have our usePBLogin, and then we want to return this guy, right? But this guy needs to be wrapped in a use mutation. So we're going to say use and we need this email and password. So use mutation. Property. Did I? All right. Am I getting something wrong here? I think my brackets are off. Email does not exist on type void. I want to pass it in. How can I not pass it in as an object? Okay, let me look back at my documentation. So, usePBLogin, email password. Yeah, that's oh, this is all extra stuff up here. this, that does not belong there. And this is TypeScript, so this needs to go like this. Then I need to define this type, which is email, string, password, string. What is it? That does not belong there. Okay. So now we can go in and we go back to our create account. Not our create account, our login. And let's see, how long have I been going for? And back inside of our login, we come down here and now our usePBLogin is changed. And so what we want to, let's just comment this out for now. And then what we can do is we can go up here to the top, and here we can say const usePBLogin. And then this is going to return a bunch of good stuff for us. That's the only way to express it. A bunch of good stuff. Okay, so now off of this, I get the mutate function, and that's when I call the mutate function, that will call the actual login function inside of my composable. You can also call mutate async, which will return a promise and give you back the results. But let's just use the default one first. So we just say mutate, and I'm going to rename this to do login. To just login, so it's a little bit easier to understand. And then what we do is we go down here and we say login, and then it has the variables that we need. So we say can I just copy? Yeah, I'll just copy what was already done up here. Copy login. Let's comment this back out. And I think I'm gonna have to switch this to async, because I want to get my response, and then if I have a response, then I can navigate. If I switch it to async, another way to do it is I could just watch the results. So what I get off of here is I get is error. To let me know if an error happened. I get error, what the actual error was. I get is success. And what else do I get? I basically get all these. I get is loading, so if I wanted to show a loading indicator, I can use is loading. So all this stuff is that I get for free by wrapping this in VueQuery, where if I try to do it myself, I'd have to write all this code myself. So that's one of the things I like about this approach. So if I switch this to, please don't tell me my mouse just died in the middle of my live stream. If I go up here and switch this to mutate async, then what'll happen is I'll get a promise back down here. So I can say response await response equals await. And now it kind of works like it did before. The login execute, I'll get my response. If I have a response, and navigate to home. But the other thing that I get now is, before I was catching errors that were thrown, but what I can do now is I will just get the error inside of this response. And since it's reactive, what I can do is I can just come up here to my code, and underneath kind of my buttons, I can display my error. So what we can do is we can come up here and we say v if error. All right, actually to use everything, I can say v if is error is error, and then down here I can just put error. And then if we go back to our code, let's log out. Let's hopefully this works on the first round. Enter something bad. And you can see my error message showed up underneath here for me. So now I don't need to worry about kind of catching this error or doing any of that stuff. It's all, because it's wrapped in VueQuery, I'll just get a responsive my error property will be responsive, and it will let me know if an error occurred. And it'll just display the error underneath here for me. We can do some styling on it later, but it was just really trying to show what we're getting from it. There's no need to handle the is success because we're just going to move on to another page if it is successful. And that's kind of what I was shooting for. On the kind of larger, more advanced queries, which we might want to leverage the is loading. I think that was the other one that's there. Is loading, and as long as is loading is showing, kind of show a little loading indicator of some sort, or maybe disable the buttons. You know, that's something that we could do, is disable the buttons when it's loading. Let's see if I can get that to show. So I think it's disabled. Disabled is loading. Right, so now it's just going to flash because this won't take long. See how it's disabled the buttons while I was loading. So that's how, you know, all of this is stuff that we would have to figure out how to write ourselves if I didn't put everything inside of VueQuery. And then we get our response. So I think, because I'm wrapping, I think I'm getting close to an hour. Yeah, I'm around 47 minutes. I think I'll stop there. I apologize. In the beginning, I was kind of fumbling around a bit, but that's kind of what you just saw with wrapping everything in VueQuery is what we were shooting for. And then the other thing is that once we start actually retrieving data and we come into our Vue tools, we will have our VueQuery information here. And we'll be able to see kind of what's going on with the queries. We'll be able to get the state for them, check out the data and everything that's provided for us. So that'll be another advantage but we'll get to that next, because now we'll go through and wrap. So we wrapped PBLogin. We'll go and we'll wrap. What are the three we have? We have wrap, we have create, and we have logout. We'll wrap them, and that should be a good place to go. So we're going to stop here till the next time. I just wanted to get this done today because the next couple of days will be busy. Maybe I'll hop on sometime this weekend and we'll work through the rest of these composables, and then we'll also we'll also add some other composables because I want to start loading data in here. Thanks and goodbye.